So Amazon messed up shipping my order, as in they shipped it out 3 hours ago. I'm not sure if it will actually be delivered tomorrow, so I'm just going ahead. That's what I've got. I did get ARMS, yes, Friday. Played it over the weekend. Fun. And Outlaw Star arrived, but unfortunately this is everything. So now I just have to figure out how to open this. There we go. I feel like the plastic here has started to give way. Yeah, basically I'll just do a really big update next week, because this week is just too, I've just got too many things, too many plans to say, yeah, let's do it tomorrow or something like that. So first of all, we've got the back. It's Outlaw Star, Galactically Aligned or Bust, Region A. It's got the dub, Japanese with English subtitles. Basically everything we'd expect. And obviously, since I'm opening it up right now, I don't know what the quality of the Blu-ray is. Let's open it up. I think this is a limited edition version, but I can't recall. These make me think it probably is. Interesting. I guess this is a piece of cardboard that can't be separated. And then we got a booklet. A lot of the same stuff we've seen before. Ooh, some background art. Nice. But, this show's a lot older than a lot of that stuff. This says DVD down here, so if I were to guess, this is all 26 episodes DVDs. Extras trailer. So, let's see. 7, 14. Huh. Interesting. These character designs look a little not bad, just different. Not quite as different as like Sailor Moon versus Sailor Moon Crystal? Yeah, I think that's right. Alright, looks like here in the Blu-ray version we have the main characters. Whereas the DVD version had some of the slightly more supporting characters, although Aisha Clan is kind of not too far behind. Twilight Suzuka, I feel like she's less developed. Hilda's only there for so long. Oh well, it's a pretty neat release. Be interesting to see what it looks like on Blu-ray, but it's not going to happen right now. So instead, just go ahead and close it and say, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. As for stuff I've watched and I guess played, let's see. There was I don't think I had finished Endride when I reviewed yesterday, and I didn't think there was anything about it it's just the first season that I would add on to. It was still the same flawed series. It kind of had some weird flaws going into it. Interesting design, so it was a little disappointing in that regard. After that, I decided to watch Chivalry of a Failed Knight, and I can kind of understand why this one's rated about what it is. There's some things about it that are really interesting, then there's some things about it that are really frustrating. To begin with, you look at it and you're pretty much sure, okay, yeah, this looks like it's going to be a harem anime, and it probably doesn't help that in the back there's a girl in their swimsuit. Right there, clearly bath-related scene. But let's see, I guess what it kind of has going for it. First of all, it is fun to watch a character who struggles against odds to make it through to continue something or the other. And I mean, our main character in this show is pretty much that. That's, I think, maybe the main draw of it. But it's also really nice that even though it looks like it's going to be harem, it introduces characters you'd assume would kind of be a part of it, but then it kind of doesn't necessarily hang on to them in that fashion and use them for that purpose. So instead it becomes a bit more relationship focused in a way that's, I'm going to call it weird. It's not necessarily bad weird, but it is, I don't know. Basically, I don't think you should watch this if you're into romance specifically, but if you like things with a romance element, maybe. Although I'm not sure how much romancing there actually is. But, let's see. I guess also going forward, I thought the action in this was actually pretty good. I've complained before about things where I guess maybe people rave about the action, but I thought it was kind of meaningless and pointless. It doesn't feel so in this, and it felt engaging and thoughtful. Like, you kind of understand what consequences there are for this battle, and if they aren't there, then they don't do something stupid like really draw them out. They have a purpose when they have a battle happen. So outside of that, the things that are kind of harsh about it. First of all, when she's introduced, well, I just didn't really like her. And, you know, they don't kind of show that element to her afterwards, and that could be an inconsistency, but at the same time, I can't help but view a character like that kind of based on an analysis of a saying of, if you can't handle me at my best, you don't, no, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And the problem with that saying is that's usually something that really shitty people whose best really isn't like normal. Like their normal is a bad person, an uncomfortable person to be around or something, and they are just trying to justify it. Sort of like a, oh, that person, they get real friendly once you get to know them. All of this is kind of along the lines of when you date a person, they suggest that you pay attention to how they treat wait staff at restaurants, for example, because that's usually kind of a good indication of what kind of person they are deep down and how they're going to treat you if things go bad. And this anime is pretty much following that example to a T in the beginning, where it's like her treatment of him, despite the fact that this show reveals that she's actually mostly at fault, and based on the way she acted and treated and made threats and stuff, this is all first episode stuff, so if you can get past the first episode, then you're probably golden, because it continues, it doesn't stay stuck there. But her as an individual, as a person, I don't trust she's actually that good of a person. And so it's unfortunate that she's, of course, the main heroine, or the significant other, the supporting cast, the main, something for the guy who's the main character, I guess. Yeah, which this has all the girls on it, which is interesting. The other issue is actually near the end, or at the end rather. I'd say that as endings go, they piled on a little too heavy with the strife against the main character, and they don't give enough payback, or payoff rather, to kind of come down from that agitated state. It didn't help that, you know, I was finishing this last night at the same time. I was like, oh my god, and Amazon still hasn't shipped my package yet, and it's almost midnight. What if I have to go through the fucking dispute process? I see that they already charged my account. You know, you can't, it's hard to come down from that agitated state. It's kind of like the way some people have described playing with cats. Like, if you play with cats so they have to try to catch something, but you never let them catch it, then they stay in an agitated, hunty state, and it's not that healthy for them, and it's not that fun for them, and so you're supposed to eventually make sure they catch the thing they're trying to hunt. If you're just trying to play games with them, you know? So, this show kind of, you know, didn't understand helping bring people down too much. There's a kind of token thing that happens that doesn't quite serve the purpose, and I guess I can't go into too much more detail since that may be more than some people may want to know already, but I don't know. That was my thoughts of this series. You know, really, I guess really rough around the edges, i.e. the beginning and the end, but when you're in the middle of it, it's a pretty good show. But, of course, since I was in that agitated state, I decided to go with something that seemed less agitaty. I mean, I was looking at a couple of options, and this was kind of on the top because I've seen images of a couple of the characters that make it kind of hard to know what the artist was trying to display happening, I guess. Like, I couldn't tell if there was... I don't know how to really put it. It's like I've been curious about this, and this was in a pile of stuff because I've been working on some of the backlog here. You might notice this pile is low and this one's higher, I guess. But this was on the pile. I pulled out and said, okay, well, if this rates 7 or higher, then I'll go ahead and watch it. And it's a low 7, so I'm going to give it a shot. I've watched the first episode so far, and it was actually okay. Nothing... No, actually, I would say it's a little intriguing, because our main character is just really shy, but apparently she's pretty good musically. She's just traded off with just ridiculous amounts of shyness, and then this weird thing happens. I definitely like the anime look of the characters more. You know, they're kind of animal-like in this situation, and as far as I can tell, she's a stranger there, but they're playing it off such that you can't necessarily, like, that's not a driving element towards the character's interactions with her, I guess. So... which is unfortunate because, you know, that would be really interesting because it's always really fascinating when people are like, oh my god, this is a person from another world or something like that. But no, they got this animal theme going on. I don't know what the blonde-haired girl is, but she's definitely supposed to be some sort of animal thing because she has a tail that's kind of just like her twin tails. So I haven't placed yet what she's supposed to be. We're obviously the bunny girl and the rabbit girl, or bunny girl, rat girl, and our main character is a cat girl, And I mentioned I like the character designs just because there's this CGI mode it goes into, which I don't prefer the animal nature of the characters, but it's actually not that bad. You know, there's a preference element there, and when you put that aside, they're still really neat looking, and the animation is actually pretty good in the CGI mode. Don't know if that's something unique to this release, you know, the DVD Blu-ray release or not, but it means that overall, about the only thing I thought was a little off about the first episode was just that egg-shaped man and his kind of in-your-face behavior, which didn't felt played off too well. But they did seem like they wanted to keep it a little more in control because that seemed to be very distracting from the characters interacting with each other and doing stuff, and the show seems to kind of know that and seems to be playing with it very well. That's just my analysis of the first episode. And of course this is the first episode of the first season, so I'm not sure what will happen once I continue on, but overall it's off to an okay start. I'm not saying a good start just because I don't want to give... I think good start's fine. So it shouldn't be confused with a great start or a spectacular start or something like that. It's just a good start. It's something that's got me curious about the way the rest of the series is going to work. Alright. I guess, no. There's also Arms. I keep calling it Project Arms, which I do believe is an old 90s anime, unless it wasn't that old. And it's annoying, but Arms, it's actually been pretty fun. It looks like it doesn't really have as much super engaging to do stuff on your own. So like Splatoon, for example, is probably a really good comparison because you know, this is another new Nintendo franchise game that seems inspired by I don't know, maybe, oh god, why can't I remember the name? Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. There we go. You know, like maybe stuff along those lines, except, you know, there's no Mike Tyson in here and there's no Little Mac in here. But it's kind of like, yeah, you're over the shoulder and you're punching kind of like that, except that there's twists here and there and that and stuff. And it doesn't have a good single-player mode like Splatoon does, and I can't blame it too much for that. It's a fighting game, and you can't really do a whole lot with fighting games without really changing the kind of game it is, because if you're not dealing with the fight mechanics that come from one person fighting another, then you're usually shoehorning something into something else. Think of it sort of like the Super Smash Brothers single-player campaigns, and Brawl at least. I'm trying to remember what 4 might have done, but I don't remember. So like Brawl had that story mode, and you know, that was fun enough, and that worked out pretty well just because of the flexibility of Smash's system. And the issue there, though, is that those actually felt awkward and different from the battling against other player types of characters. And I think it would be even worse for a game like this, which is pure fighter game, and, well, it doesn't have the combo stuff, but it does have the stuff it does. So, in that regard, especially since I play a lot on my own, it's really just about playing enough of this stuff to get better and better at it and unlock more arms for the characters. But it's still fun to play. It's also frustrating, though, because the default behavior of the game involves you holding the Joy-Cons and punching. So my arms are actually still a little sore from getting used to making all those jabbing motions. And I've worked up a sweat a couple of times just playing it, so I have to be careful because I don't want to work up a sweat and go straight to bed and stink the next morning or something like that. And sometimes it feels like the controls don't quite react. And I've been playing closer to the TV in order to make sure things are registering, but every once in a while I'll do something and it'll register both attacking at the same time, and it'll do a grab when I was just trying to do a punch, or I'll try to do that and they'll register at different timings. And I don't know if that's related to the signal talking issue that the Switch has shown some other people, because usually for me it's not an issue if I get on the other side of my little desk here, but for this game it's had its frustrating moments, especially since once you lose your tempo, even a stupid level 2 computer seems to suddenly be able to counter absolutely anything you ever try to do, period. And that gets annoying. But yeah, Splatoon I think was maybe a much bigger splash, but this game is still pretty damn fun. Outside of that, oh, if anybody's curious, I've been maining Mean. I like the dragon arm. Just the disproportionate. Oh, if I'm gonna have disproportionate arms, I might as well make them even more disproportionate or something like that. So, I've been enjoying that. Anyways, I guess that probably wraps everything up. So, y'all have a nice week, and hopefully next week Amazon won't do the same thing and we'll have a really big update.